It's the Friday edition of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We've got Jenna Harner on, and we're going to talk about the rumors swirling around about the Steelers potentially trading Chase Claypool. Are they real? Is there much weight to them? Should they do it? What would it cost? All that benefits-wise and what it talks about with the Steelers. Also, previewing Steelers, Dolphins, Sunday Night Football, and all your picks for the week. Again, I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Odyssey, and YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it. Hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline, of course, is where it has you covered all season long with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. As I said before, we got Jenna Harner back. It's Friday, so we got Jenna Harner on from Channel 11. Jenna, how you doing?
Chris, I'm doing wonderful, getting ready for Miami, Sunday Night Football. What's not to love?
There's a lot to love. And the sports equinox happened Thursday, where an NFL game, an NBA game, an NHL game, and an MLB game all happened in one day. It is awesome. This is the best time of the year. I'm excited for it. But we're going to lead off talking about something that's not a game, but a rumor, not practice, but a rumor that's going on with the Steelers right now. And that's the Chase Claypool situation. Now, if you're not apprised to it, go ahead and just Twitter search Chase Claypool. You'll find a million stories about it. But bottom line is people have been talking about this for months, even before the season started. You know, Pro Football Talk has been talking about it. ESPN's been talking about it, and it's heated up now that the trade deadline is approaching. But the question is, you know, would the Steelers trade Chase Claypool? Rumors have it that they have at least it's piqued their interest to look at the opportunities, and that the Packers are very interested. And even one writer said all in to get Chase Claypool. My issue with that is, what's all in to get Chase Claypool? Yes, he had a great game this last weekend with a touchdown, but before that, a lot of Steelers fans were talking bad about him. Everyone was talking about how he was too inconsistent. He wouldn't go up and get the football. He fell down too much, all this other stuff. You know, people last year called him a diva and all this other nonsense. All those things being said, in one game, you know, and now all of a sudden it's popped up in this conversation. But Jenna, I'm sorry, unless you're giving me a second, you know, a first is the only thing I definitely move. But even a second, I'd like cautiously look at it and be like, where in the second? Like, if it's the Packers, you're probably picking in the back end of the second round of the draft. So I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm giving up too much. I'm not sure I'm getting too much for Chase Claypool. I don't think a team would offer more than a third. And unless it's like a mid to high third round pick and not way in the back end of the third round, I'm not so sure it's worth that at this point.
No, I'm with you. And it's one of those interesting things because obviously with you and I both covering the Steelers, we're in a little bit more of that bubble in terms of the conversations we hear. We, you know, see him at practice on a daily basis. We see Chase Claypool in the games. We're talking with him in the locker rooms and things on those lines. And we're hearing the conversation from Steelers fans directly surrounding Chase Claypool. And like you mentioned, the fact that before last week's performance against the Bucs and what he did, there was a lot of talk in the other direction of like, you know, he's not producing the way that himself or the team wants him to be. And I think obviously that's a part of what offensive consistencies this team has dealt with throughout the season up to this point. But there wasn't this talk of, you know, oh my God, Chase Claypool's the guy. And now all of a sudden when he does have this really great game and he does make those, you know, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 17 catches that result in first downs that help them keep that late game drive alive in order to march down the field, score that touchdown, and then obviously to seal it against the Bucs in that final drive by the offense. But it's so intriguing to me kind of, and again, the timing, I guess, makes sense, but it's just one of those, like, it feels like it bubbled over into like, oh my God, this is the topic of conversation now. It's like, wait a second, everybody was just saying all these things about what they were frustrated in with his game. You can look to, Kenny Pickett's first pass, and everybody was saying, oh, he should have, made a more contested effort to go up and get the ball, and Kenny put it up in that way. But it's just, it feels like a very strange timing. And I'm with you on that. And just the fact that well, one, if you're giving something up, if you're giving him up, what are you getting in return that's going to make it worth it? But then if you give him up, it's like, who slots into where he's going? Do you want Gunnar Olszewski? Steven Sims, when we're recording this, obviously still dealing with that hamstring injury. So who comes in? And I know people immediately say, oh, well, Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin is still working his way back from IR, and he's still in that 21-day window where he has to be activated or shut down for the rest of the season.
I agree. And that's a big part of this. And not that, and I know someone's saying, well, they're only scoring like 16 points a game. What does that matter? The problem is that right now you have Kenny Pickett as a rookie quarterback, and you're trying to find a foundation, something that you can build on offense. And when you're doing that, you don't take away a guy who can be a weapon for you. And whether or not Chase Claypool is some good weapon for the Steelers or not, that sure is debatable. But there's no doubt his size, his speed, and his ability. You saw they don't win that game on Sunday without him. No. And if you're moving forward, you're thinking like, hey, we need to give that guy, they could get that guy the ball more. And when you're trying to build some sort of chemistry, some sort of, belief, some fervor, something that the offense can put something down and say, hey, we're good at this. Chase Claypool's probably going to be part of that. And you taking him away, sure, you might get a middle round pick, a late day 2 pick and an early day 3 pick. But how much is that worth versus making sure that Kenny Pickett's next year and a half is with, a really talented guy here? And listen, I get the people who are thinking ahead contract wise, because his contract's up next season. They've already paid Deontay Johnson. So it's really hard to see them pay him, because then George Pickens will be coming up 2 years after that. And there's a lot of questions about that. But despite all of that, I think the Steelers would be content to keep him at least until the end of the season and then see where they're at. Because at the end of the season, then you could say, all right, maybe we trade for him now. We trade him away now and then go draft a wide receiver or go sign another wide receiver in free agency. But at this point, I think the Steelers are going to be happy to stay put. Unless the Packers are really, truly desperate and they give you something that is stupid. The Steelers aren't jumping at this.
Unless they're fleecing it like they did in the Minkah Fitzpatrick Miami deal.
Absolutely.
How timely is this? But I mean, unless you're going to get that. But also it's just so intriguing to me too, in the sense that, like, I know automatically everybody kind of already wrote the Steelers off, and don't say that I'm saying that there's going to be a miraculous turnaround here. But the reality, looking at the standings in the division, they're half a game out of third place, and they're 1 game out of first place in the division. This team right now sitting where they are heading into Dolphins week, which is, in my opinion, we'll talk about this too, a very winnable game for the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're 1 game out of first place
in the division.
In the division, which is insane after losing 4 in a row the way that they did. But the reality, again, is just there's still so much more to this season. And I think this team right now, obviously, what happens this weekend can be a big factor moving forward. But this team right now probably wants to keep the weapons that they have, because this offense is continuing to progress. And we've seen Kenny Pickett throughout the week as he's dealing with his concussion protocol. He's been practiced in full both Wednesday and Thursday. That's a big sign trending towards obviously him playing, but him developing, him establishing more chemistry with this offense, which is what Steelers fans and what the team wants to see. Just that kind of developed, okay, we're finding our offensive identity. And I think at least this season right now, Chase Claypool is a big part of that.
I agree. He's a huge part of that. And again, the chemistry may not be there all the time, but the threat that he presents in the middle part of the field, which, I mean, you saw Mitch Trubisky start to figure it out at the end of the last game. It's real. It's tangible. It's something that the Steelers need to exploit moving forward. We'll talk more about what they need to do against the Miami Dolphins when we get to previewing that game. But, it's Friday, so we're going to have to get into our picks. We'll update you on who's winning the Pick'em League for the Locked On Steelers podcast. We got over 200 of y'all participating every single week. Thanks for everyone enjoying. We'll also check out on where Jenna and I stand. But first, before we do any of that, we got to talk to you guys about Simply Safe. Now, Simply Safe, as y'all know, it's the ultimate option when it comes to bringing safety to your home. Simply Safe is a system that you can trust, that Simply Safe's home and security gives you power. Powers your home with 24/7 professional monitoring agents that are always going to have your back when you reach out to them. So you always know that your home is safe. What I can tell you is that if you go to the Simply Safe staff with a question, they're attentive, they pay attention to what you're asking for, and they do everything they can to help you find what you're looking for or figure out whatever situation you're in or your home is in. I really love how Simply Safe's phone app makes this so simple because it keeps you up to date with the safety of your home at all times. It makes it easy to get the answers when you have questions thanks to their app and their support team. When you go to their support team, they're 24/7 professional monitoring, and they mean 24/7. SimpliSafe's agents will call you the moment that a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not at home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, and you can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month for free. Do that by going to simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more, because there's no safe like SimpliSafe. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Before we get into Steelers Dolphins, we got to take a step back and do our picks for the week. We also got to update you guys on everything. Jenna and I are personally very close, not just as friends, but in records, because I currently have a record of 50-42. Jenna has a record of 50-40 because she forgot a couple Thursday night football games. Sounds mighty convenient of you.
This was just to keep things interesting, Yeah, just
okay.
To keep my winning streak alive.
Indeed, you still maintain a winning percentage lead. We have the same amount of wins, and I do think that the game itself is based off of who gets the most wins at the end of the year. So you better not miss any other games moving forward, Jenna.
You can miss 2 Thursday night games that you're not feeling great about. I'll allow it.
Okay. Well, while we sit there, we are tied at 52nd place right now, but there's a lot of you guys doing better than us, and we're going to go over the top people. In tied for third place, we have D. Collieri and Steel Fan 8888 picks 2. We also have tied in first place. The Yappin' Yins are still at the top there, but Gridiron Men right there at 58 total wins on their picks. Gridiron Men also has picked all the games. Yappin' Yinzer has missed 2 just like you have, but has 58 wins. So it's really close. If you want to get in, go get that ESPN. Go look up the Locked On Steelers Pick'em League on ESPN. We pick them every single week if you want to pick along with us. Jenna, let's get into these picks. We're going to start with Sunday football. No England game, no game in Europe. So everything starts at 1 p.m. and we're starting with an AFC North showdown. The 2-4 Browns at the 3-3 Ravens. Listen, the Ravens been dealing with some injuries, but I think that they're going to be clear enough to play get the right guys for this game. The Browns, I think they're in a bit of disarray. I think they're in a bit of struggling. There was an article coming out about how, from the inside the team saying that they need to focus more on practice and that they're not focusing enough. I think these are a lot of things to be going through with a 2-4 team going on the road to the Ravens. I'm picking Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore's injury concerns still question me a little bit. Obviously, when we're recording this, the Friday injury reports still haven't come out, so I'm keeping an eye on Mark Andrews' status just because we know he is Lamar Jackson's biggest and most favorite target this season. Even if he, for some reason, doesn't play in this game, I'm still going the Ravens. Look, as long as they don't have like a 3-touchdown lead and collapse completely, there's teams that they can do that against. I don't think the Browns are one of them. I'm going with Baltimore too.
I'm with you on that. NFC South showdown, the 3-3 Buccaneers against the 1-5 Panthers that have just been a disaster. Listen, it's angry Tom Brady time. He's mad. He last week before the Steelers, he skipped the Wednesday practice. He went to a wedding, so he missed the Friday practice. And he came in. He was yelling at his offensive lineman. This week, he didn't miss a single practice. I think the Panthers are done for.
Yeah, I'm not wishing. If I was the Panthers, I would just be like, okay, you guys go ahead. Angry Tom Brady is scary Tom Brady, and I think this will be one of those games where he puts up 4 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette runs for 2. It's just the Panthers are just, I don't know, they're brutal. They're not great.
They're not great. It's bad. It's not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. No, it's not.
But moving along, the 3-3 Falcons, who would have had them at 3-3, are facing the 3-3 Bengals in Cincinnati. The Falcons surprised everyone, took out the Niners. The Bengals were able to eke out a win against the Saints last week, but the Falcons have been interesting. They gave the Buccaneers a fight. I'm going with Atlanta. I don't believe in the Bengals right now. I think that they're up and down a lot. I think this is going to be a defensive struggle, a slugfest there. I'm picking the upset special, even though they have the same record. Everyone's probably going to pick the Bengals. I know you're probably going to pick the Bengals. I'm going with the upset, though. I'm putting it on the line. Falcons, baby.
I wanted to pick Atlanta. I really do. Like, I really like what they're doing. They're flying under the radar, pun completely intended there. But they're frisky. They're that kind of team. I just think if you're the Bengals, this is another one of those like must-win games. I feel like a lot of the games.
It is a must-win.
Yeah, for the Bengals right now, they kind of feel like they're in that territory. And I think Joe Burrow does play really well when he's in that must-win style. I think him and Jamar Chase have been obviously, doing what they do well, and Jamar Chase took a big step fantasy points and fantasy wise last week. I can't pick the Falcons. I don't know. I'm going with what feels like a safer pick, but this one's going to be intriguing. I can't wait to watch this one before Sunday Night Football.
It will be intriguing. The Cowboys look to get Dak Prescott back, and they get the 1-4 Lions. Listen, everyone was excited about the Lions to start the season, and Dan Campbell and Hard Knocks, and now that's all gone. Everyone realizes, they are a bad team. I think the Cowboys are going to mop the floor with these guys.
I think this Cowboys defense is fired up after what happened against the Eagles last week. They lost those battles in the trenches, and I think that if I'm the Lions, I don't want to be facing that Dallas defense this week.
Nope.
So, Dallas is going to win this game and win it handedly.
Your New York Football Giants are 5-1. They're tied with the Vikings and the Bills for the second best record in the NFL right now, only behind the 6-0 Eagles. Your Giants, you never saw this come. Look at Jenna's face. You can see this on YouTube. She's like, I don't believe this. And they get to face the 2-4 Jaguars. Jenna, I'm saying it right now. The Giants are going 6-1 going into week 8. They are playing very well on both sides of the ball.
They are, and I'm picking the Giants, and I feel very conflicted about it because when I pick the Giants to do good things, they usually do bad things. So make that part of your picks, ladies and gentlemen, this week. Take that one with a grain of salt, but I am beyond impressed. And actually, I have an article bookmarked that I want to read later about how Brian Daboll is making everything for this Giants team a competition. They play Madden sometimes after team meetings together. Like every single thing is a competition among this team, and it shows on the field. Don't count the Giants out until they're out. I still don't know why Baltimore just didn't run the ball because they were averaging 8 yards a carry.
They were. I don't get it.
But hey, a win is a win, and I'm picking them to do it again this week. They're gonna if they go 6-1, I can't function when the Giants are good because then the nerves and the anxiety hit. So this is wild. Did not expect this at all, but here we are picking the Giants.
Here we are picking the Giants to go 6-1. 3-2-1 Colts at the 3-2 Titans. Didn't have the Colts doing this when they tied the Texans in the season opener, but they've battled back. But I'm going with the Titans. I think that with Derrick Henry back, they're coming off a bye. They're going to be fresh. They're going to do the job this game.
Yeah, the bye is what did it for me in this one. They're coming off of the bye. I think the Colts got a lot of, got on the right foot with what they did last week, but I just think the Titans, to me, are a better team on paper. And usually when you're coming off a bye, you're able to get guys back from injury. You're able to kind of shake things off after, the tough early part of the season. And I think that's what they do against the Colts this week.
Packers at 3-3 at the 2-4 Commanders. I know the Packers have been struggling, but so have the Commanders. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that pissed off Aaron Rodgers is not a great Aaron Rodgers, just like it's pissed off Tom Brady is not a great Tom Brady. I think the Packers rebound, especially because I don't think the Commanders defense is back up to full health yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that offense is doing. Is Carson Wentz even going to play this week? Because I was reading some things about how he's dealing with injury. He might need surgery.
It don't matter to me. They taking that L.
Yep. I'm with you on that.
We got the 4-2 Jets at the 2-4 Broncos. The Jets have a good chance to be 5-2. What is up with New York?
What is happening? New York football's good. Giants.
This is bizarre. And the Bills, the only actual team that's in New York, because of course the Jets and the Giants play in New Jersey, but that's beside the point. But still, you got the New York Jets, the New York Football Giants, the Buffalo Bills, all with 4 or more wins, and the Jets are going to get another win because they are playing good enough football. I think that they've survived a lot of games early with some good circumstances, but the Broncos are bad. Russell Wilson It's not cooking, and I'm taking the Jets.
Russell Wilson is making like slop for the pigs. That's what he's
dang, that's just rude.
Is that mean?
That was mean?
Is that like a cross line? I was gonna say what I saw on Twitter. It was some gross like toast. It's like that pizza that had like half cheese, half chocolate. Like that's what Russ is cooking up. I'll tweet it, whatever. This is what happens when I get feisty a little bit, guys. I am going with the Jets ? I know there's some internal things with wide receivers asking for trades this week.
Yeah.
But I think I'm looking at the Jets defense, which is just the fact that, I mean, my God, defense. Never thought I would say the Jets defense is a reason I'm picking them to win this game, but that's exactly why I'm picking the Jets to win this game, because of their defense.
I'm going with that too. The 1-3-1 Texans are facing a team that actually has a worse record than them in the 1-4 Raiders. If the Raiders lose this game, I'm done. Well, you know what? I'm picking the Raiders simply because, Jenna, I just don't want Devontae Adams to find me and push me out of the way. I just don't want him to come just knock me down like he did that cameraman. He's going to hunt me down and say, you're in my way, Chris Carter. The Raiders have been in their own way, but they cannot be in their own way in this game. If they lose to the Texans, season's done. Pack it up. You traded for Devontae Adams for nothing. And now you set your franchise back, and you're still a disaster.
Yeah, this again, must-win game. Speaking of that, I feel like that's this for the Raiders. And I really liked what they did against the Chiefs. I thought that game was a really good bright spot of like, hey, this is the potential for this team. It's right here. They have to just execute for that full 60 or, overtime, or, regulation plus overtime. They have to execute for that entirety. And if they can do that, I think they win this game.
Right with you there. Seahawks 3-3 at the 4-2 Chargers in the 4:00 games. I'm going with the Chargers because they're at home, even though they're kind of like, just south of Seattle. But still, I think that they are a team that needs to play better. They're on both sides of the ball. Justin Herbert has not been consistent, but neither has Geno Smith. I think that he gets a little bit more consistency in this game, and the Chargers defense makes more plays in the football that gives them the win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And, we talk about, showing the potential, like I said, with the Raiders. I think that's what the Chargers are trying to do here too. And I think we see flashes of, okay, this team, when they do things well, look really good. And when they move, when they're finding open options, they're moving the ball down the field. I think Justin Herbert needs to trust in himself a little more, because there were a couple plays where he had guys, and for whatever reason, especially late in that game last week, he didn't look right in their direction. But I think the Chargers, to me too, are just a little bit of a better team, and I think they get the win at home this week. I'm
with you on that. Chiefs, Niners. The Niners lost to the Falcons last week. The Chiefs lost to the Bills last week. Chiefs on the road, they're 4-2. The Niners are 3-3. I'm going with the Chiefs, though. Their offense is going to get back on it and get them some points.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a big drop. I say there's a big drop off, and I'm like, wait, going from the Bills defense to the Niners defense, they're two very solid and very elite defenses.
They are.
But I think for the Bills coming into that game last week against the Chiefs, there was more of like, hey, we need to get this monkey off our backs here. We need to get this win. And that was just such an elite back and forth between probably, this generation's Brady
and Manning.
Yeah. So, there was more to that game than I think a lot. And the Chiefs also could have won that game too. So I think that the Chiefs win this game. I think they win it by a pretty decent margin, just because, angry Patrick Mahomes. There's going to be a lot of angry quarterbacks this week.
And that's always fun for football. The 2-4 Bears on Monday Night Football go to the 3-3 Patriots. This is going to be a boring, ugly game, but the Patriots are going to win it.
Yep, that's all you need to say. Boring and ugly. Are we going to see Bailey Zappi? Are we going to see Mac Jones? Whoever's going to be under center is going to be better than what the Bears will produce on offense. I think the Patriots continue to pound the ground, and I think that they get a win. What would that put them at this year? The Patriots they'd be 4-3.
Yeah.
Intriguing
indeed. So there you have it. We about to play Patriots winning. Got a few splits there, but we still got to talk Steelers, Dolphins. We're doing that in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Don't go away. You'll get our top matchups, our injury report update on the Steelers, and final thoughts going into the game with our full predictions. But first, we got to talk to you guys about our great sponsors at BetOnline. BetOnline, of course, your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball playoffs, because the World Series is right around the corner. You got these championship series, and it is intense. You can make all the money and learn about what odds to put down at betonline.net. But also, it's the sports equinox, baby. You got the NBA, you got the NHL, you got the NFL. all the action right now. That's why you got to get to Bet Online, your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action when you visit Bet Online, where the game starts. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter. She's Jenna Harner, and we're getting to Steelers Dolphins. Now, Jenna, the Steelers got very good news for the most part from their practice report. Kenny Pickett still practicing in full after his concussion ruling, but after they were limited on Wednesday, Cam Sutton, Ahkello Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Larry Ogunjobi, Chris Wormley, Pat Freiermuth, James Daniels, Mason Cole, Myles Jack, all those players I just named went to full practice on Thursday. So unless there's a regression and any of them goes to limited or don't practice on Friday, it's a good sign the Steelers are going to look healthy in this game. The two to watch out for, as you said earlier in the show, Steven Sims hasn't practiced yet this week. There was also a limited practice from James Pierre. He has a hip injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but if they get those top three corners back, I think he can take a week to rest. Those guys will be coming back into this situation, but it's a good sign for the Steelers to get so many guys to be back and healthy.
Yeah, especially so many key guys on defense when you're going to be facing guys on the opposite side like Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. I think that's a really, really good sign for the Steelers. And also, too, it's, I think for a lot of these guys, there's something to build on here. That was something that we really heard a lot of them say in the locker room after that game. They're like, okay, it's just one game. It's just one win against Tampa, but there's stuff we can build on here. And I think that if they get this win on Sunday, there's even more confidence rolling through, and that will really set them up really well. I know we can't look too far ahead, but I think that would be a really good thing if this team can get a win, which I don't know about you, but I think they can do it.
I think they can too. Also, kind of good news for the Steelers. TJ Watt isn't back off the injury out of injury reserve yet, but he did put some pads on. He is posting more on Instagram about like his return's going to be near. Yep. Also, DeMonte KZ returned to practice for the Steelers. He is not out of injured reserve, but it's a good sign that he's going to be able to be back soon. It's what I was telling y'all. If they can get to the bye week and just have an okay record that keeps them in a shot of the playoffs or a shot of the division, they can make a push later this season. It's looking more and more like that. But in this game, Jenna, I think a big part of this game, and I talked more about this on Thursday, but I think this is going to come down to two factors, especially, and they're primarily on defense. Offense, they just kind of have to be who they've been. Just get a couple touchdowns. You don't have to turn it up. But this has to have a very good game against the Dolphins. You're getting Tua Tagovailoa back in this game. They've got their top wide receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. Combined, they take up 68% of the passing production in this offense. They're also the main reason that Tua Tagovailoa has so many deep passing yards this season, and their speed is in check. What's going to have to happen, in my opinion, Jenna, and I've said this all week, you're going to need to bracket both of these receivers. That means if all your cornerbacks are healthy, if on the outside, it's Cam Sutton and Ahkello Witherspoon or Levi Wallace and Witherspoon, their job is going to be to bracket and work with a safety, another corner, somebody to keep both of those guys, two guys around them. And then the rest of the defense get home with four. And that's going to allow you to say, okay, we've got four rushers. We've got four guys in double teams. We've got three guys elsewhere. There's going to be times you're going to have to bracket and kind of work together. But a lot of guys, the other guys, like Terrell Edmonds, who's back and healthy, Devin Bush, Myles Jack, those guys who are healthy, they're going to have to win their one-on-ones in coverage and say, hey, Tua Tagovailoa, if you want to get the ball get the ball down the field, you're going to have to throw it in between the brackets and the double teams, because all three of his interceptions have come when he's tried throwing it to Tyreek Hill or Jaylen Waddle, and they've been double covered.
Yep. No, and that's I'm with you on that. And just the defense has to be the ones to make those key plays. They have to be able to confuse Tua, because this is a big year for Tua. And I think especially coming into this game, this is big from Tua as well. I think a lot of people are going to be asking a lot of questions just in terms of his general health, his recovery, things along those lines. But this year for him as a whole, can Tua be that guy they drafted him to be? And there's been so many questions, was he that guy? And obviously in the first 3 games of the season, he showed it. And then of course, what happened with the Bills, the hit to the head there, that should have been, when he was taken off the field. And then obviously what happened with the Bengals. Glad to know that he is going to be back and he is going to be on the field here. But if you're the Steelers defense, you need to make those key plays and you need to get a takeaway or 2 that you can force. If they can just play, and obviously it's hard to say if they can play the type of game they played against the Bengals, because TJ Watt is a huge factor of that. But if they can generate pressure like they were able to do against Tom Brady, when they were
up the middle,
if they can generate pressure like that up the middle and also force Tua into throws he might not want to make or bad passes, things along those lines, I think we could see if this defense can win the turnover battle here. That's going to be my key factor in terms of if the Steelers win this game. And I think that will happen, whether it's an interception. I mean, we want to say the perfect storyline thing. If Minkah Fitzpatrick picks off Tua,
that would be crazy.
Everybody would have a field day with that. But if Minkah Fitzpatrick, if Cam Sutton, Akella Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, if Terrell Edmonds, if one of those guys can get a pick, or if we can see, what Alex Highsmith was able to do, a strip sack, force the fumble, Steelers recover the fumble, that type of thing. And then I think this will be a very solid game for the Steelers.
Well, it's certainly possible. The Steelers, and when you look at the numbers on the season, this definitely does favor the Steelers in this matchup. The Steelers have a +1 turnover differential. The Dolphins a -5. That is second worst in the league right now when you look at it. Also, the Steelers on defense, 8 interceptions, third most in the NFL compared to the Dolphins, who just have 1 interception on the season. Steelers also have 10 takeaways. That is, doing a quick count here, 8th in the NFL compared to the Dolphins, who have 4. That is third least in the NFL. So this is a chance for the Steelers defense. If they're back, they're healthy, minus TJ Watt, get some turnovers, stuff the run. Don't let Raheem Mostert get going. Don't let Tua scramble out and make some plays with his feet, and win in the trenches, especially up the middle. We were talking to Kyle Krabs of Locked On Dolphins. He also works for the Draft Network, but we were talking to him for the Crossover Thursday episode, and he said a big weakness could be right up the middle with Liam Eichenberg at left guard, and that's where the Steelers picked at the Buccaneers with Luke Gadecki. You had Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi just bullying their way up the front, making it hard, forcing early throws. If the Steelers can get wins from those guys, and then, of course, get Alex Highsmith coming off the edge, maybe Malik Reed gets a little bit of pressure, maybe they throw, I don't think they can throw too many blitzes in this game because they have to be wary about those fast receivers. But you win with those guys up front, it'll allow the guys in the secondary to make more plays and be more aggressive in going after the ball, and that might be your ticket to getting those turnovers. Jenna, all that being said, looking at this game, betonline.net has this game with the Dolphins at 7-point favorites at home, which means really they're 4-point favorites. The 3 points are for them being the home team. The over-under is at 44.5. Money line, Dolphins -315, Steelers +265. Interesting lines all across the board there. But Jenna, give me how you see this game playing out, your turning point, and your final score.
I see this as kind of a little bit of what we saw against the Bucs last week. I think the defense makes a statement early on as well. I think we see some sort of turnover in the force of an interception, a forced fumble, something to that extent. I think the offense capitalizes off of it too. And then I think we see a long sustained opening offensive drive from the Steelers. That was something that they had an emphasis on. And that's something, of course, they want to continue doing. And I think that the fact that obviously Kenny Pickett has practiced in full the last 2 days has nothing but good, can mean nothing but good things in terms of, this offense continuing to gel, continuing to develop chemistry. And I think that the turning point for me is going to be in the second half. Tua is going to try to do too much. The defense is going to force him into another turnover, or force the defense into a turnover, or something to the extent where, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Alex Highsmith is just going to have a monster sack for a big loss. And the Steelers offense is kind of going to hold on to this one. I expect this game to be closer than people think, but I'm picking the Steelers to win 24-20.
24-20. That's an interesting score there. Got the Steelers winning.
I want to add one thing. I think one of those touchdowns scored by the defense.
Ooh, a defensive touchdown. That would certainly be very interesting in this mix. I'm very intrigued to see how this game plays out, because the Steelers defense is rested now. And I've been asking about this. Mike Tomlin blew this off when I asked him. He's like, it don't matter how rested you are. You got to go out and you got to win. But you could tell after the game, there was a different vibe with this defense when they won, because after the Bengals, they were like, oh, we got through that. But after the Buccaneers, you could tell like Larry Ogunjobi, Alex Highsmith, all the guys were like, you know what, the offense deserves as much of as part of our success because they got us, they kept us off the field. If the Steelers offense, which again, this is not a good Dolphins defense, they have not played well this year. The Steelers defense, hasn't been elite either, but the Dolphins, they've given up more points. They're averaging 25.8 points per game allowed. That is, I believe, 6th worst in the NFL right now. So, you got a chance there. Have some longer drives. Keep them off the field. Make it so that you don't have to do too much accounting for Hill and Waddle all throughout the game. Those guys are going to make big plays occasionally, but if you can limit them, keep them out of the end zone, I think you're right. You have a similarly paced game this week, and you're going to have a chance to get after Tua Tagovailoa. I think in his first game back, he's going to be at home. He's going to be it's going to be close, and he's going to try to rise up and make a play. And it's just going to be about when he makes a play. Will the Steelers secondary be in position? Because Tua Tagovailoa, he does not have a cannon of an arm. That ball hangs up there a bit. I think he's going to hang it. And like you're saying, I think it's Minkah Fitzpatrick reads it, comes down with it, and either he gets an interception to close it out, or he returns it, and I think puts them in a really big position to score or scores himself. And that's what gets the Steelers the win. I'm going similar to you, though. I'm going 24-23. The Dolphins are going to make this really close. It's going to come down to a field goal or a last-minute stand for the Steelers, and they get the W. But either way, it's going to be a fun one. Sunday Night Football, Steelers-Dolphins. It's going to be exciting. Jenna, you'll be there, right?
I will. We will be with WPXI NBC. We have the game on our air, so if you're in Pittsburgh, you can watch it locally on Channel 11. I'll be down in Miami doing our live pregame, postgame shows, so definitely tune in there.
Do tune in to Channel 11. They do a lot of great work, and they'll be on site at Hard Rock Stadium. Thanks again, everyone, for checking us out on the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, YouTube, all the places. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the like button in this video if you enjoyed it. Rate us 5 stars with it on Apple Podcasts with a positive comment. Do both at the same time. You get a special shout out at the end of the show. Jenna, thanks so much for joining me here on another Friday episode. Let people know what else you got coming up this weekend.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11, Instagram Jenna_Harner. And again, we'll be in Miami. So it's going to be kind of a busy weekend. Chris and I have Skylights, our Friday night football show. So definitely tune in here locally in Pittsburgh or on our WPXI app. And then Sunday, if you're in Pittsburgh, definitely tune in and check out my Twitter and our website for all of the cool coverage. I sat down one-on-one with George Pickens earlier this week, got the chance to talk to him. I'm excited to share his really interesting story with all of Steelers Nation. So definitely tune in for that.
Do tune in for that. They do great work at Channel 11. I'm Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. You can check out my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette about Pitt athletics. We also Pitt is going to have an interesting Saturday. They got a basketball scrimmage against Clarion, an exhibition game at 2 p.m. Then Saturday night, the football team is in. They're going to be away at Louisville, taking that on, coming off of their bye week. Can they get back on track in the ACC? All of that there, and also you'll find the Locked On Steelers podcast right here. All the time, Monday through Friday, getting you your Steelers content. I'll be back Sunday night, Monday morning, breaking things down. I'll also be on the Final Word on Channel 11 Sunday night after the game. So all that right here, Channel 11. Check us all out. We'll see you again soon, Steelers Nation, and right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.